Hey everyone, it's Fionn and welcome back to my channel, Chrysanol Eva Chanel. I hope you are all very well. It is the very end of March right now, but I never did my February reading wrap up, so I'm taking the opportunity to do it today. I recall in my February reading plans video that I said I was hoping to get to 6 physical books this month. I didn't manage that. I read 4, plus I finished the audiobook that I've been reading since September, so that was a win. So for those 5 books that I read, my star ratings ranged from 3 stars all the way up to 5 stars with an average of 3.85. So let's take it all the way back to the start of February when I read Sandwich by Catherine Newman. This is a pretty short book all about this woman, Rocky, and her family holiday. So it's definitely more of a character study than a plot-driven book. And we're following Rocky, who is 50-something years old, and every year she's taken her family, or her family have gone on this beach holiday to this same beach house they've been hiring out for the past 2 decades, I think it says. Yeah. Her and her husband and her 2 children, who now at this point are young adults. I found the prose of this book pretty poetic. So it regularly starts a chapter with the summer that Jamie was 4 and Willow was not yet 1, or whatever the ages were at that time. And I do often struggle with repetition. However, in this, it was clearly intentional, and it was, I don't know what the end of that sentence was, I was going to say, but it was intentional, it was placed well, and it wasn't just that the author had forgotten she'd already said it, because it came up so many times, and it did make for quite a poetic prose, and I appreciated that. Just to start with the same phrase regularly throughout the book, not every chapter, but often, it brought the whole thing together and kind of let the themes flow a little bit more, I guess. I found this a really interesting perspective to read from, because I've not read many books from the perspective of a 50-something menopausal woman. I think I often found Rocky to be quite short-tempered, but I think that was done intentionally to reflect the whirlwind of menopause and how that can really affect your mood and your relationships. So I do think that was pretty well done. Rocky throughout the book is having a lot of reflection. She's feeling quite a lot of guilt about decisions she's made in the past. She's ruminating on them a lot. She's doing quite a lot of possibly overthinking. Some people might just say reflecting, but it definitely led her to spiral at times. And she's trying to have some conversations with the people in her lives about things that have happened in the past. On top of that, she is that, you know, okay, she has made some decisions, not necessarily bad ones, but decisions that she's made that now she feels some regret, definitely guilt, but other things have happened to them as a family, as a couple, to her as a person. Not her fault at all, but she is struggling with a lot of responsibility towards them. She feels responsible for those things, even though objectively they're not her fault. She's finding it hard to come to terms with the fact that maybe if I hadn't done this thing years ago, then this thing wouldn't have happened a few years later, and that kind of a thing. So she's trying to have conversations with people she loves about that, but she is understandably finding that really difficult. Oh my goodness. That was loud. Where was I? I found the end of this quite moving, with kind of a message about living while you can and appreciating both the small and the big things in life. And I did like this one. I have just seen there's a sequel to it, I think called Wreck, which came out last year, but I'm not too bothered to pick that one up, to be honest. I gave this 3.75 stars. Oh, that was another thing. Oh yeah, I have more. I've written my little notes that I like to make for these based off of the notes that I wrote in my notes app, and then after I finished doing that, I went onto my Storygraph And for a good few of these books, I actually wrote quite detailed reviews, which I don't usually do, so I might put screenshots of them, but it made me remember more things that I otherwise would have forgotten. So I really loved reading about the family dynamics, in particular the sibling dynamics in this book. You can just tell that this is a family who loves each other so much. There is so much love, there is understanding, they just get each other, they have inside jokes, they have such a treasure chest of memories that they have built upon, that one of them can just mention one word and the others will like fall into fits of laughter or just know exactly what they're talking about. And I loved reading that. It really reminded me of my own family, because I'm very, very lucky to have fantastic relationships with my parents and my siblings, and all of us together just have the best time ever. We literally have the best time ever together, and it felt like that reading this book, and I really liked reading about that. Calla and Jamie they were sibling goals. They were. However, with that said, the relationship between Rocky and her husband Nikki was quite tumultuous at times. I basically spent the whole book wondering if they were gonna end up staying together or getting divorced. I'm not revealing that either way, but I found it very back and forth between a lot of the time thinking, do you guys even like each other? But then I think it might be one of those situations where they love each other but they don't necessarily like each other. So yeah, that was an interesting point thrown in when all the other relationships were very good. Not all of them, they had more extended family that they found trickier, but the core family, those 4 people, I'm not saying parents and siblings are core family, but in this case they were. Those relationships were strong, they were strong, but then that one between Nikki and Rocky was probably the weakest. Okay, let's move on. At this point, I started filming a reading vlog for finishing my winter TBR. Has anybody seen this reading vlog yet? No, because winter is long gone, we're well into spring, all the footage is still sitting on my laptop. So that's on the agenda for this week. That vlog is coming, just very, very slowly. Probably be summer and I'll be posting finishing my winter TBR, but whatever. The first one I picked up for that was not this. It was The Ministry of Time by Callie-Ann Bradley, a book I've seen lots of people talk very highly of, but I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I kind of got this on a whim. I'm so glad I did. I loved this book. This book is pretty genre bending, so at its crux it's about time travel. So is it about time travel at its crux? Like the main... None of this would happen without time travel. So in that way it's science fiction, but there's also romance, it's contemporary fiction, it's kind of dystopian because it talks about, it's kind of futuristic. Like, who's to say at this day and age that time travel is never going to be possible? So in that way it has a bit of a dystopian feel. It also has a little bit of a political stance in that it considers, this is how we got from our past to our present. What we're doing now, how is that going to affect our future? It is not preachy at all, I don't think, but it definitely gave some food for thought in a really good way. I mean, I'd say that because I loved it. This book is about time travel. So we are living in a world, the modern day, where they have discovered time travel, and so this top secret sector of the government, like it's not public knowledge whatsoever, but this top secret group have figured out time travel, and they have brought 5, I think it's 5 expats, they call them, from the past, from different points in history, and they have brought them into the modern day. And we're focusing mainly on one of them, Commander Graham Gore, who's come from the year 1847 from an Arctic exploration, which, by the way, is real. He's a real person. He was a real person in 1847. That's such a cool feature. Like the amount of research that went into this book is so cool. I digress. We're focused mainly on Graham and Graham's bridge. So each one of the expats has what's called a bridge that's assigned to them to help them acclimatise and navigate to this new crazy situation that they've been thrust into. Our bridge is unnamed. We don't know her name, so I will just be calling her the bridge. And we watch their relationship grow. First, they are kind of hostile to each other because they don't know each other. This guy is like, what the hell is going on? Where am I? Who are you? This world is maddening. And she's like, I don't know what to do with you. But they have to live together. And then, because his identity is very secret, so she's kind of one of the only people in the world who knows where he's actually come from or when he's actually come from. They live together and then slowly they become friends, and it's just a wonderful story. I found this book so funny. I, on several occasions, found myself chuckling at it in public. The way it was written, the characters were so funny. Graham was hilarious. The bridge was also really funny, and the way they interacted with one another. The way that Calla and Jamie in the first book just got each other, these guys just got each other, and they were so funny together. But also on top of that, the book is told from the bridge's perspective. The way she relays the things that he's done, the way she's telling us the story, she's a great storyteller, and it's just funny. It doesn't feel like enough to say it's really funny, but it just is funny. It works. And I really liked that aspect of it. The vocabulary in this thing, it was so varied and strong. It was, you know that episode of Friends where Joey's writing the speech and he uses the thesaurus function on his computer or laptop, and it just reads terribly because it doesn't flow. It's just like a blah, 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 word vomit. It just wasn't like this at all. It felt like Kalian Bradley just knows so many words and uses them in an everyday speech, but there were just so many good words. Like a lot of words I had to research, but they fit in so well, and it still flowed. It sounded amazing. I was just, oh man, this book was so good. It was just so good. So it was like every single word was so carefully placed in the exact right place, but yet it felt so effortless. Intentional but effortless at the same time. Like she just knew, it came so naturally to her as a writer, but it feels so thought out, right? She knows all these amazing words. She's very careful about where she places them to create the best sentence structure and the best story. But it feels like she just went, I'll say this next. Like it was so good. I have a couple of quotes that I'd like to share from this book. Now, I often find that quotes taken out of context don't hit the same, but these are two quotes that when I read them, I was like, wow. So I'm going to read them to you now. Remember that being in love is a form of blunt force trauma. I was concussed with love for him. I bent my head to the cudgel. Like, how much love can hurt, but that you yearn for it and you lean towards that pain, even though you know it's going to hurt. But the need for it is so much stronger. Beautifully written. And then this one was about one of the friends talking about one of their other friends. He was as a brother to me, a man of marble where all others are of clay. And then I wrote, I just love the way this book is written. True. And my Storygraph review that I'd written starts off something like, I'm so impressed somebody could come up with this idea and execute it so eloquently. Like, so it's one thing to come up with such a brilliant idea, to be able to then actually make that idea come true and put it into a book, it's beyond me. It's so clever. It's does she have any other books? I need to know this. The earliest version of The Ministry of Time was written to amuse some friends. I never intended for it to have more than about 5 readers. Wow. This is her first novel. Incredible talent. She has written short stories before. Brilliant. Brilliant. In case you couldn't tell, I gave this book 5 stars. And I think that you should read it. I don't care what your reading tastes are. I think you should read it. Next up, I read The Women by Kristin Hannah, which is a beautiful story about a young woman called Frankie who follows her brother into the Vietnam War as a nurse. And wow. Here's what I thought. Gorgeous story, gorgeous message, gorgeously written. This book is brilliant. It's so emotional and sad, but at the same time so hopeful and heartwarming. It hits you in all the right places. So like I said, we're following Frankie, and she goes to Vietnam. Has both the best and worst years of her life. She makes the best friends of her life. She obviously sees so many horrendous, unimaginable things. We're following her in the war, and really finding herself. Like, this is a place where she finds she really belongs, which she's never really felt before, but she didn't know that she hadn't felt it. She gets to the war and she's like, wow, these are my people. This is what I was made to do. Then she comes home and she does not get the warm welcome she was expecting. Actually, the United States as a whole are very against the Vietnam War and channeling their anger towards the people who are actually there, towards the veterans. It's a very hostile situation to come back to. And on top of that, nobody believes that she was there because, sweetheart, there were no women in Vietnam. And she's like, well, hello, I was there, but nobody believes her. She is not taken seriously whatsoever. She tries to go to a few support groups because she obviously has a lot of trauma from this experience. She's not welcome. So it's a really, really difficult situation for Frankie. She doesn't know who she is anymore. Well, I don't know if I'd say that, but she starts to lose herself because she'd really found herself out there, and she's come home and she's not welcome. She's not understood. She doesn't have anyone really to talk to about it. She has her 2 friends that she made out there, but they don't really live close to her. And it's just it's really sad. It's a very sobering story, but like I said, hopeful and heartwarming. And it really gives a reminder to live in the moment and enjoy life while you can, but also that it's okay to find it hard sometimes. Because Frankie, bless her, she did find things hard, but she found her joy again, and it was just such a warming story. But read this when you're not going to be thrown off by crying, because I'm not saying you will, but you might, and it might hurt too much to read at some point. But I do think it's really worth the read. I have now picked up another Kristin Hannah. It's on my TBR cart. I wonder how different the stories will be, because that one is also about young women in the war, I think. That's The Nightingale. But I expect it's going to be another brilliant book, because the way it's written, she just is clearly a very skilled writer, Kristin Hannah. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else she's done. I gave this one 4.5 stars. And then finally I picked up Alice and the Fly. Oh, there's big hair on there. Alice and the Fly by James Rice, which is a book that I've never heard anything about. I've never even seen it, apart from the one time I saw it in a charity shop and picked it up on a complete whim. So this is a YA book about a teenage boy with a lot of mental health struggles, including an extreme phobia of spiders. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of all I remember about this one, okay? So I don't really have anything else to say. I think this could be a good book to read as a teenager struggling with mental health. I think it could make you feel quite seen, but if you're struggling with the same things, then it's going to be pretty triggering to read, so got to find the balance there. I found this one okay, but I have not thought about it once since I finished it. I gave it 3 stars. One thing I will say is that it read really fast. Like, I was reading over a page in a minute, which is very fast for me. Yeah, that's kind of all I've got to say about this one. And then finally, just to briefly mention the audiobook I was reading, it was Sociopath by Patrick Gagne and narrated by herself. This is a first-person account of life as a sociopath and her experiences of that. I found it very interesting and insightful, but quite repetitive, and I definitely don't think I needed to listen to 11 hours of it. Like I say, it took me September, October, November, December, January, February, 5 months to read it. So yeah, I mean, it was eye-opening, but just a bit too long. I also gave that 3 stars. So those are all the books that I read in February. What was your favourite book this month? What didn't you love? What did you have for dinner? You know, let's just chat. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!